Welcome back to the David Kurten Show on today's News Talk TNT. It's really good to have with me on the show today Phil Rose, who is a Derbyshire County Councillor. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David.
It's great to have you on. And I know you've got a lot to say about what is going on in Derbyshire in local government. And that's something that we touched on a lot in the show over the time I've been doing it. Because while people are focusing on things abroad and on, trivialities around the world, things are happening with how our local councils are being structured, which is going to have real implications for everybody in the country, which are more real to people's lives than things going on abroad, where our attention is diverted. So tell me what's happening in Derbyshire, or to an extent Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, which are all sort of bundled in with the plans together.
Yes, well, we're going to have a combined authority. And what that means is regional government. And it's something that I've been fighting against from the point where we were a part of the EU. And it seems to me that we haven't come out of the EU. And lots of the policies that the county are bringing in are basically EU policies. So the way it is supposed to work is we have the City of Nottingham, the City of Derby, the County of Derbyshire and the County of Nottinghamshire joining together in order to save money. The marketing I think Derbyshire spent on this initiative is £6 million. Derbyshire County Council's got no money. I'm actually on the audit committee, so it's all desperate times. We've gone into reserves the last 2 years, and clearly this is part of the move towards regional government to take power away from the county and put it to the new regional mayor. So we had a consultation on this last year, just to coincide with Christmas. It's a really good time to talk of governance, isn't it? When people are really focused on that as opposed to Christmas. So we have 2.2 million people in the four areas. So all of them could have their say, as it were. You know what governments say: have your say, have your say. We'll ignore it, but have your say. We had 4,800 and something responses, and this is supposed to go out to everybody. There were something like 6 questions. 5 of them were: would you like more money for social services? Would you like more money for transport? That type of question. So everyone, the answer is going to be yes, isn't it? And would you like a mayor for the East Midlands? And that was the only question that was sort of really pertinent. And the results came in, surprise, surprise. Everybody wanted more money, but less people wanted a mayor. In fact, more people were against having a mayor and the change of governance than were for it. Obviously, everyone always wants more money. But the way it was couched in the report to the full council was that fewer people were in favour of a new mayor. That's because more people were against it, if you get my drift. So 4,800 out of 2.2 million, and that's okay. That was seen as a good result. So it's been railroaded through. It's taken like less than 2 years, seems to me. Obviously, they've been talking about it beforehand. I'm now getting so many messages and social media posts saying, what's this combined authority? What's this mayor business? I don't know anything about it. The majority of the population have no idea what's coming. We know what it's going to result in. It's going to result in LTNs. It's going to result in a push towards the combined authority away from the local democracy. So you're going to get less choice in how we spend our money. You've got, I think, a committee of 8. So you've got the mayor, then you've got some representatives from the various organisations, then you've got 2 corporate representatives. Now we might have someone from Pfizer, for example, sitting on the combined authority. Well, that's lovely, isn't it? So it's just like when you get strategic partnerships. They look after each other, and the man in the street gets left behind and ignored and lost.
Well, see, this is going on all over England at the moment. So, I mean, what you're talking about is Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire.
Yeah.
And I think, what you've said, there's a lot of things that are very disturbing in what you've said, but that's happening everywhere. I mean, we've had combined authorities for a long time in the West Midlands, in Greater Manchester, Merseyside, and Tees Valley. Obviously, Greater London. The Greater London Authority is the biggest one. You've got Sadiq Khan has been the mayor there for 8 years. So this year in the election cycle, there's a new combined authority being created in York and North Yorkshire, for example. Plans are afoot everywhere, Devon, Sussex, wherever. So the plan is here really to get 40 mayors that are going to have the same kind of powers as Sadiq Khan. England's going to be split into 40 different regions, something like that, with 40 little Sadiq Khans that have got total power over a big part of the budget for spending in those areas. And that's really worrying. And, I didn't know about these corporate representatives on the board. A new board is going to be created. If it was Pfizer, that really is going to be a massive two fingers up to everybody, basically, isn't it? But is there any election or any process for these corporate people in the board?
Well, this is the point, of course, and it's really the centralisation of power, and it's top down. So the government will have more control. I'll get to answer your question in a second, but the government will have more control over the mayor and the distribution of resources, and they only have to talk to one body rather than other constituent bodies. So from the government's point of view, it's great. But yes, there are elections for the mayor, and they're coming up on May the 2nd. As I'm aware, there's Ben Bradley is standing for the Conservatives, and he's like the Emperor of Nottinghamshire. I think he's in charge of Mansfield District Council. He's also MP for Mansfield, and now he wants to be mayor. We have a Labour candidate that comes from Watford, so she obviously has a great feeling for Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. And we have a Reform candidate, Alan Graves, who actually is standing on the "I want to dismantle the whole thing," which. And I don't know. I don't think there's a Liberal candidate, but so we have someone who ideally wants to do away with the combined authority. So whether he will be able to do that, I'm not sure. But
well, look, what I would say is that I'm not a big fan of Reform, but I do know Alan Graves. I know Alan Graves personally. Back in the days when we were all fighting for the referendum. So, he would be a good guy, on a personal basis. I would certainly support him.
Yeah.
But
well, that's it. The issue we have is I'm involved with lots of sovereign groups, and of course those groups are saying, well, you don't even engage with the election, and the trouble is, if you don't engage with the election, then the bad guys win. And that's what happens. So I've been trying to get across to people that, we have somebody standing that is against the whole idea and has actually fought against it for some time. Doesn't matter what party it is, but he's against the whole concept. So why don't we give our vote to that person? And they say, oh, well, once he gets in, he'll be corrupted like all the rest of them. Well, that may be so, but we've got this much chance rather than no chance at all. So I'd rather take the chance. And I know Alan as well. And I know he's fought this for a long time, and he is he's a good choice if you don't want the combined authority.
That's great. Now, Phil, we're gonna have a little quick news break here, and we'll come back and carry on talking about this in a minute. Brilliant. This is today's News Talk, TNT. Welcome back to the David Kurten Show on today's News Talk TNT. Now, Phil Rose is with me, and we were just talking about the creation of a combined authority and a mayor for that combined authority in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. And what's happening there, though, although it's two counties, the same plan is being rolled out all across England. So we're just talking about that, and you were mentioning, the election is coming up for this. The first election for a mayor is coming up this year. And the thing with these elections for these new mayoral positions, which is concerning to me, is that the deposit to even stand in these elections is huge. Is it 5,000 or £10,000, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's 5,000. I'm not 100% sure, but it does stop democracy really, because obviously you've got to be either backed, which means you owe somebody something, or you're a political party, and then you're going to, of course, get funded, but then the political party owns you, which is, of course, one of the problems with our political system at the moment.
Yeah, I do, and it's the same for these. You got police and crime commissioners. The fee to enter those is very high as well. So for a small party, and I mean, I'm in the Heritage Party, we haven't got anyone standing in these mayoral contests because, we need to spend our money elsewhere. If you've got a limited amount of money, you can't do that. But, the question is, if someone gets in, I mean, who knows what's going to happen here? I mean, we mentioned Alan Graves, who we both know personally. I think he would be the best person to vote for in this particular election. But say someone else got in, what would they want to do? I mean, you mentioned before the sort of low traffic neighborhoods, but would they be basically an agent of pushing the whole globalist and climate agenda and woke agenda? I mean, we see, Birmingham's got clean air zones, which is more charging for cars. There's the ULEZ in London. What sort of things would happen on a practical basis?
Yeah, they're exactly the type of things that would happen. And the centre of power is then further away, and it's harder to make representations. And it's just coming from the centre. It's coming from national government. It's coming from world government, global government. And this is a way to funnel down global policies, which none of us want for the most part, into local communities. And even on my parish council, we have declared a climate emergency. I had a big argument with the clerk because, I know that there isn't a climate emergency, but it puts pressure, and it means and this is the thing with smaller parties, we have to start from the parishes and build on the boroughs and do all that. But that's a way we can do it. But of course, now the power is being removed from the parishes don't have much power anyway, but the boroughs and the districts, and it's moving past the counties and going up to these combined authorities. So we have no chance as individuals really to have any influence on what's coming down from the top. And this, again, as I said at the start, it's all part of the EU process that we were fighting for so long. I mean, I remember 20 years ago, there was in Nottingham and Derby, there's the Greater Nottingham Housing Market Area, which was about creating a housing policy for sort of over more than just one local authority, but over a range of local authorities surrounding Nottingham, and the Derby one surrounding Derby. So local districts lose power to determine their own housing needs and are told from up above that they have to build houses for some other agenda for the cities. Now, and that is the starting point of this regionalisation of local politics and local government, and it all comes from the top, and it's all controlled from the top. So it's not bottom up, it's top down. Now, what we're looking for is bottom up politics, and I think we would agree that that's the way forward. I mean, I'm talking to a guy called Neil Petrie, who's involved in the idea of direct democracy. He's really pushing that. He has an organisation, which is based on a Swiss style governance where you have many referendums. Like any constitutional change would need a referendum from the public. And I mean, I think that's the way forward. It's a positive initiative. The only issue is, of course, you've got to have an educated population. And that's one of the other problems. Most people don't know what's happening. Most people still watch mainstream news. And while we might talk in an echo chamber, you and myself and others, the majority don't get it. They don't get what's happening. And it's like with this mayoral thing, nobody wants it, but nobody knows about it. And they're only finding out now, sort of 2 years in, the election's on May the 2nd, and they just start saying, well, what's this? I don't know anything about this. But that's another issue. Like with the climate change, I mean, if you only have to do like 10 minutes of research and you find out exactly what that's about, it's about money. It's not about the changing climate. But most people, unfortunately, think there is something in it. I mean, there's
huge propaganda. There's huge propaganda for these things, isn't there? And they've got, like you say, there's a huge amount of money going in, filtering into the mainstream media to push these, pushing the agenda in schools as well, and in politics. Like you say, more money is going to go to this combined authority mayor, and I guess that means there's less money going to the districts, less money going to the parishes and town councils. And this is really, to me, it is a debasement of democracy. Because you need money to stand in these mayoral elections, but then once they're in for 4 or 5 years. There's nothing you can do to challenge them. They won't be accountable to anyone. Like Sadiq Khan in London, he's not accountable. There's a London Assembly, and I was on the London Assembly. I could ask him questions. And it was good. I asked him questions that no one else was willing to answer. But at the end of the day, he could just turn around and say, well, I'm the mayor. I've got the power. I can do what I want. And I don't need to take notice of what you say. So it's terrible. But I really hope, Phil, it's been really good to talk to you. And we're sort of out of time for this section of the show now. I hope you can come on and talk some more. But, what I would say before you go and encourage people watching is to get involved in local politics. While we still have it, we still do have parishes and town councils and district councils. Get involved, stand, even, put yourself right forward, stand for Westminster and, try to get in, because, it's Westminster that's created these combined authority mayors and these combined authorities which are taking democracy away from people. Yeah. We need ultimately to get people into Westminster to undo this as well, and to give real power back to people at the most local level.